Hey guys, so welcome to my channel, Express Spiritually. I'm Nina, and I am welcoming you guys to this specific playlist to where as though I talk about my personal journey and how it can come up in or while you're on your spiritual journey, like these things have came up in minds. And I think this is like really important aspect because a lot of people don't like to open up about the raw and uncut truth because of course your spiritual journey is not always the prettiest and we forget to mention those aspects because there is what I'll say a lot of spiritual bypassing that happens to where as though things can really be very violent, tensed, because your shadow aspects pop up. So you learn the ugly truth about yourself and the people that are around you. And it was so hard for you to see the light and the uncutness of, um, unfortunately, those facts. And it's just like, wait, you want me to mention that again? And it's like, no, I'm not doing that, but just know I am peaceful. And then even it's like so many different variants, but a lot of people just be like, no, I just want to, keep the peace that I found within myself. I don't even want to tussle through that rummage again, right? Anyhow, so today I want to share with you guys is something that I've recently been going through, and I've been on my journey now for about approximately I was about to tell y'all 7, but yesterday I looked. I was like, oh my god, I started religiously on my spiritual journey for it's been like 10 years now, right? Um and those 10 years flew by like this, let me tell you. So I didn't realize it's been that long. Anyhow, and uh I have 4 children, and I am a single mom, and today's raw and uncut story and today's personal journey is about one of my children. Now, parenting is a very sensitive subject of mine, and I didn't want to open up to that truth because along my journey, what I've experienced is once somebody find out what my vulnerability is, they tend to kind of want to use that as leverage towards me. So outside in the world or doesn't matter. I'm a very calm, cool, grounded person. Hello, Taurus risings, right? And I am a Cap Stellium. So my astrology chart, I want y'all to go look up your astrology chart. Don't run from astrology because it can show you some things, right? However, I'm a very grounded person and I find serenity in my groundedness. But when it's time to turn up, I do turn that up. Anyway, however, what I didn't understand is those around me can also feel it. Aura is a thing. And in my younger years, who knows about aura? Because I didn't, right? So, but getting to where I am now, of course, I know about now, especially as an energy healer, I understand now what I was bringing to those around me back then, what my energy, the value of my energy, the expensiveness of my energy, what it was happening back then. Um, but it was being exhausted. Like they were coming to the bank without making deposits, just withdrawals. You know what I mean? One of them type of things. So, um, with parenting, however, the reason why it's still a sensitive subject is one, I had no outlet. I was raised differently, right? Than how I'm raising my children, which is, should kind of is typically like the story, especially with single parents, with majority with single parents, right? Um, we always try to give our children the best, regardless of background. I want to give my children the best because that's how unconditional love. Like, you just want to nurture. You want to, whether it's your children, your spouse, your family, your dog, your pet, because our pets are our children, right? But let's not babble. And so because as a child, I had so much restriction my perspective is liberation and freedom, because I know that that's what I needed to grow. So I'm like, let me fertilize your soil with that. Let's start off there, so that way I can grow your emotional intelligence, and you have that liberation and freedom to know that you are your emotions are valid and they can go wherever you need them to go with borders. We need borders, right? Our borders are our boundaries, because we still need to be safely kept, right? So, and these are the things I've taught my children. Um, and I teach them in very unconventional ways, not ways to unconventional to society. So society wants you to be a Christian, working 9 to 5, and you eat breakfast at 6 and da da da. No, in my house we flow. We listen to our bodies. We flow to what our mental health needs. We listen to our emotions. We respect each other. It's about character, integrity, honest. We express ourselves, hopefully, with, of course, making sure that we're not bleeding on each other in this house. It's a very healthy household. I believe so. So, but still, where this story comes in at is just because, I see where my children are now. Um, I see the healthiness of my children, of how they're being raised, right? But I also see where my traumas, because my two oldest, they were raised first off my trauma, and then my two youngest were raised off of me transitioning into a healthy mommy, right? So I have 4 children, so there's 4 different dynamics, 4 different people, 4 different perspectives. Like, just because just because they were all birthed to the same parents, that they all had the same mom, same dad, doesn't mean that they're going to live the same life, right? So with that being said, uh, me and my oldest daughter, she'll be 18 next month in October. We've been bumping heads or whatever over the last couple of weeks or so. I had some things externally outside of my children that was happening in my life. But then in aspect to me and her, although I saw what she was going through in hers, of course we would touch down, but I always held my children, and we've had talks like this, me and my daughter, you know, because once she turned 16, it became to, or even a little younger, 14, because she started to branch out on her own. So I've taught problem solving skills, right? We teach conflict resolution. So we teach interdependence, codependence, dependency. We teach how to do introspection and extrospection, right? We teach all these things, and my oldest is really a really good person of judgment. She's really good, right? Um, and in these ways, we, how do you say? What's the best way to say it? Okay, basically, if you do something funky around her, she's watching. She watched first. The moment she says something, just know. The moment she says something, just know you know what it is. She's very straightforward with her words. Like, I don't like that you did this because this made me feel this way. And it's okay for you to be you, but know that I'm me. And if I continue to see this behavior, or if it ramps up, then this is what I'm doing. That's how she poise her conversations, right? So imagine this 14, 16-year-old girl speaking to another 14, 16-year-old person. They're like, who you think you talking to, this man, right? So that's how her friendships be. So if she sees you doing an act of lewdness or something that doesn't necessarily align with who she is as a person, because she loves you, she gonna say, I think you're heading down the wrong path. This is not something that we do. what's happening? Um, are you sure you want to do this? If so, that's okay because you're you, I am me, you know. Um, but I'll tell you now, I'm out the door. I'm out the door, right? So, now getting older, she's 17. She has a friend, a boyfriend. Let's not say friend, let's be correct about it because her love life is her love life, so I'll be respectful. She has a boyfriend and she goes through her ups and downs, right? Which is okay, but unfortunately I've told her before, like, hey honey, um just because you go through things in your romantic, platonic, social life and someone's being unfair or not, because the thing is, you can't control the outcome of other people. And I'm showing that to her. So, where before she's okay with being fluid as to who's coming in her life because her feet is very planted into who she is. The thing is, with romantic relationships, um, specifically this one, she's not as planted. And we spoke on this before, and I said, hey, honey, you won't really see what I'm saying. One, I'm mom, right? We've all been teenagers. Mom don't know everything. Two, because you have a father wound. Um, you didn't grow up with your father in the house. You didn't grow up with your father around. You don't have access to your dad, and you want to be romantically involved with another male. So you don't really have a healthy grip on expectations, how you should handle yourself. That's a whole different ball game with on its own. And I myself haven't been in a healthy relationship as of yet. This is then at that time, as of yet, to say, oh hey, this is what these things should look like, right? This is what these things should look like, right? So, sorry, I had a call come in. Um, and we had those talks. She said, I understand. I knew she only understood at the capacity to which she was able to take in, which wouldn't have been to mine. So, example, my capacity can fill this cup, hers can fill this jar, right? Which, like, she's a child. So, like, experiences fills your cup, you know? Um, so moving forward, I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I give you as much context as possible. So moving forward, we are now into the glut of things. I myself have went through things that got me to where I am today. Now I am requiring um, more independence from my children, which they shouldn't have at this point. Like, we're speaking, she'll be 18 next month. Um, then we have a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, 10-year-old, which means you can wash your own dish, you do your own laundry. You got a cell phone, right? So if you got a cell phone, do chores. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a cell phone, set your alarm. And not to say that they don't do these things, they actually do these things, and they do them um, really well. My children are very independent um, when it comes down to especially with school. They are excellent at that. However, when it comes down to their feelings of entitlement, that's when we start having a problem because they are very spoiled in these ways. Now, this is when my trauma starts peeking back up because, as I said before, look, one of them texted me now, asked me for $5. So, as I said before, my trauma entered my parenthood first. I had my first child when I was 18. My trauma entered my parenthood first before my healing begun. My correct way of healing begun, right? Because in the beginning, I wasn't healing, I was surviving, and I wasn't being guided correctly. I was being monitored, right? Um, and so once I detached from expectations externally, because when me being monitored, it was literally voices of control that benefit those who are monitoring me, right? To make sure that I'm moving the way that would assist them. So, which of course would downwardly affect my children. So now that we're more on a healthier path, let's not forget, in the better parts of my children's life, I am on a different path that I didn't, of course, back then I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. Now, I may have been doing the right thing for somebody else's life, just not theirs, you know? So it's just that I'm now that I'm where I am now, my children needed me in a different way. So what do you call that? Survivor's guilt? No, I don't know. You could call it something. So with this being noted, uh, I did not put my hands on my children. I am focusing on how I speak to them, um, making sure I don't raise my voice, making sure I don't yell. I make sure there's not much combativeness when I speak to them. I do an energy check. I'm grateful that I'm an energy healer, so I do an energy check. I see what they may need before I approach them with my needs. There's a lot of things that I do for them that, of course, take away from me. But it only takes away from me as a person, not as a mother, right? Because I would give my last to my children. So lately, I've had to break it to my oldest to say, hey, you're kind of going over my capacity to where I kind of have some things that is a non negotiable for me. And you're crossing those boundaries. And this is where we need to take a step back. Because am I your mother? Yes. Do I love you unconditionally? Yes. Is there anything that I wouldn't do for you? Yes. However, I am still a person. I am a human. I am a woman. I'm a female. I'm a girl. I have things that I have to do for myself to take care of myself so I can do those things and take care of things for you. Right. So when you cross certain things, because even though I am on a healing journey, I have not ended my journey, right? I have not reached my destination, because if I would have reached my destination, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, you know? Um, and explaining this to her, because what happened was I, sorry, what happened was I was in my room and I was given an outlet to where as though I was getting things off my chest, you know? And I was asking, um, we have we have our neighbor, and I call her my bonus daughter. She is, you know, she's been around since she was 14. She's now about to be 23, right? And she's like an older sibling to the girls. And I do. I'm so used to holding a village of my own over the last 2 years. I started building a village, right? And she's a big pillar of my village. So she takes a position to where as though she's the children's like older sibling. She's very grounded, stable, very good head on her shoulder, teaches them things, take them places. When I tell you older sibling, I am blessed to have her. So of course, you know, we're in my room. She does hear y'all. You know, check her out. I'll put her tag below. Um, and I'm expressing myself, and I say, "Hey, yeah, me and Kayla just had a talk, and I'm kind of asking for her to, because you know she's younger, closer, they're closer in age, and I'm like, maybe you can talk to her." But I'm explaining the situation of which I'm speaking on of why I need to talk to her. Um, my daughter decides to be on the opposite end of my door because I'm in my room in my shelter, and she decides to be on the opposite end of my door listening in. And while I'm explaining the story, she butts in crying and raging, like, say you're talking about me. And it was just like, okay, there's a few things wrong with this picture. So by the end of it, of course we hash it out, because what, you can't bust in my room. Well, that's what I mean by the non-negotiables. So we have this big old house, three-story house. It has a huge backyard, it has a driveway, it has a garage, I have a huge front lawn. We have neighbors, beautiful neighborhood. And she has a room. Yes, the point being is you have all this space. I appoint one room out of all this space to myself, and they know this. Nobody comes in my room. You can knock, but nobody comes in my room. If I say you can't come in my room, you cannot come in my room, right? Um, and so because you overheard something that wasn't for you, a couple things happen. You misheard the information. Um, you for the action you caused told me I didn't have the safe space that I thought I had. Again, because it's my traumas. It's a lot of things that I've already went through, which is why I created a certain space. My room is beautiful. It looks a certain kind of way, but it looks that way for a reason because that's my safety net, right? And so you literally broke my reality down in 2 seconds because you were having an emotional response to something that you misheard. So, of course, we hash it out. Um, I had to restate my position as a mother. We said some things. And then the next day, I took my child out for coffee, tea, cakes, and stuff. Was she wrong? Yeah. Again, still my kid, you know. Her mental health, her well-being, her physical state means more to me than anything. I know how to get myself back. She's still learning, you know? So I did let her sit in her shit for the night because you're about to be an adult next month and you need to figure it out. You have the tools, you have the resources. I've been teaching you since you were 11, you know? Um, you've been doing so well. Um, I know you're okay. The whole point of me saying that is I know you're okay. Your feelings are just hurt, and I know why your feelings are just hurt. And even if I did try to sit down and calm you down and explain anything to me, you won't be able to hear me because you're upset over what you think you heard. So the next day I take her out, we sit, we calm. She drives, so she drives us to a little coffee shop. It's a little cute little tinker thing not too far from us. We had a really good conversation. And I express, and I'm very transparent to her, like, hey, these are my feelings. I think you guys are way too hard on me. Um, you are very entitled. Um, what you did was completely wrong. Um, it won't happen again. It will not happen again. You are not at the stage you were when you were 15. You're a young lady now. You're a young woman. You're 18. The world is not going to look at you as a minor. You're being looked at as an adult, and it's time to start curating yourself in that space. And this is what that means. And I explained to her that um, this is the reason why I'm talking to you today, not yesterday. And a couple points of why that needed to happen is because in that moment, not only was I mothering my child, I was also mothering myself because, um, I don't have mom. I have parents who are alive who aren't parents, so I have to mourn. I've had to mourn my parents several times within my life. Right, I'm in my mid-30s, and I know in the future I'm going to have to mourn them one last time. And these are people I don't even know. Right. I just know I have an emotional cord to them because they are my parents. So I have an absent father and an emotional and a mother who is partially absent but emotionally unavailable. So not only was I mothering my daughter in that moment, but I was also mothering myself. I was telling myself this is okay for me to have this conversation with my daughter because it's my child. And that is a conversation I knew I would have needed to hear from my mother if she was available to say that to me. So it was the conversation more so went like, hey, if you were your own mother, what kind of support would you need in order to extend uh, a olive branch or to bridge this gap between you and your daughter? Because right now there's some kind of unhealthy dynamic happening, um, and there's something wrong. How do you talk to your child? This is your child. You can talk to your child, but in this moment during her transition, how? What language do I need? What knowledge do I need? What do I need to just listen? I need some kind of guidance because I feel like I'm just winging it and I don't want to wing it on my child in this sensitive manner. And that's the advice I came up with, right? And I went along with that and it worked. It worked. We left there feeling lighthearted. We left there feeling expanded, closer, the bond strengthened. Um, Even though there was more I needed to say because within that conversation, I gained an even broader aspect, or I'm sorry, broader perspective from my external family. What happened was my daughter felt as if I was going around telling people about her that would change how they saw her. And I said, oh my God, that's harsh. I would never do that. I said, honey, what you heard was me gaining advice. I said, why would you think I would do anything like that? Like, that's completely out of my character. She was like, yeah, because I was telling them, you guys, everybody thinks that you're so great, but this is what's really happening. I said, but babe, that's not what happened at all. And then even the people that you said you thought it was happening with, they even told you that that wasn't what was happening whatsoever. Like, I would never, especially to my own child. First of all, that's not my character. I'll let people energy speak for themselves. Like you're you. Can't nobody tell you who you are better than you, right? Um, and then I apologized. I said, that's really something hard and heavy to even carry on its own, especially as, to think that your own mother would do that. So, and I know that from personal experiences, like, from being, having a whatever relationship is relationship, no matter how good or bad it was. But having the kind of experiences I've had with my mom being my own worst enemy, I'm like, girl, like, I would never. So because I was able to clear up a couple instances of what she was referring to, she apologized as well. She's like, oh, I didn't know. I said, yeah. I said, honey, you always come to me, so why didn't you do it this time? Oh, but, because I have my spurts of depression. Oh, I was just looking at you as a human. And, I said, I'm going to be straightforward. I said, that's a cop out. We don't do cop outs here. I've told you several times prior to, regardless how I look or regardless, you know, I am always open up to you. And I was like, even in those moments that you're saying you would have, that didn't stop you from asking me for money. It didn't stop you from asking me to help you complete things that was for your personal use or anything. And I showed her, I said, do you not see how that can look like an emotional manipulation? Because that's how, if it wasn't me, that's how other people would receive you. And you don't want to be perceived in that way, right? So how it could have happened, because she has a career um, projection um, in the future towards uh, behavioral health and psychology, right? So I said, in a career projection, this is what it should have looked like. And I told her, I said, regardless, I said, if you have a feeling, if you see something, do something. If you have a feeling like, oh, I feel like I should say, because in those moments, hey, this is what I see, and it's making me feel like this. Because we've done that. You've done that. So I know you have the tools. And this is what I mean. I've given you the tools. We do we go out into the real world, we use them. So, it's not as if I give you the tools, you don't know how to use them. You know what I mean? It's not like I gave you a toolbox and you're like, oh, well, this, I don't know what to do with this job. No, you know how to use them. You're very resourceful. She's a very intelligent girl. My girl is the bomb. Beautiful. Brains, intelligence, socially gifted. Like, ugh, she speaks different languages, about 3 different languages. Like, she the epitome of, oh, I don't know, I'm getting chills just thinking about her. Like, she will light up a room. My girl's tea. Okay. So anyway, I don't know. My girl's tea. She lights up my world. Like, she's the bomb. Like, she has her driver's license. She has her own car. She always keeps it out. She don't pay no bills. Can't get Miss Man to pay a lick of bills, but she always keeps a job, right? But anyway, I'm sorry. I like bragging on her a little bit. But because she's the bomb. So anyway, so I explained to her, uh well, I forgot what I was at. I got so distracted. Oh, I want to show y'all a picture. All right, anyway. I got so distracted. So moving forward, but I noticed those things and I tried to explain to her, hey honey, I think you just assumed the projection. I think you just assumed the projection that this is what was happening because that's actually what you were doing. So she didn't understand what I meant. So what happened was I had ended up finding out that her and my grandmother was having a side secret conversation about me. Um, Regarding some financial having. So it's always something to do with some finances, right? Um, what happened was I went to my grandmother's house to grab the money from my daughter's wallet. So she wanted a new phone, but she didn't want to wait for her new phone. She didn't want to wait for me to pay for it. So she said, fine, I'll pay it for it then. So she went to her savings because they all save money over my grandmother's house. It's out the house. You can't save money if it's in the house. They kids. So I don't do the bank institutes. Anyway, money's out the house. So they saved the money at my grandmother's house, right? So she's like, I want my phone. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go get the money from her. Go get it then. So she wanted the phone like yesterday because she broke her phone. So I made a negotiation with her. I'm gonna go get it. I'll take care of it. You at work. Blah blah blah. Move forward. She gets over to my grandmother's house looking for the money that she wanted to use to pay the. I guess she really thought. I guess she didn't think that I wasn't. I think that's really, really what it really was. I think she thought that I wasn't going to allow her to pay for her own bill, right? But it's like, no, you wanted to speed up the process. You 17, girl. Like, you made I told you to wait a week. You didn't want to wait. You didn't want to wait a week. You wanted to speed the process up. You pay for your speed. Like, you know what I mean? Pay for your responsibility. Um, I don't know. That's just my assumption. Even when we talked it out, I was still like, it don't make sense. She was just like, oh no, I forgot about it. I was like, ma'am. Anyway, moving forward. So I brought that up to her and I was like, yeah, I knew about it. I was like, but I didn't say nothing to you. Like, bring it up for what? The only reason why I would have to bring it up to you in that moment is to start drama. You're my daughter. Start drama for what? Like, you know what I mean? I just chucked it and held it inside, like, and I know about the previous conversations, she's like, well, because what she was doing was going to her elder siblings. Oh, don't y'all think mommy's acting funny towards me? I said, you did all this investigating in private. She went to my other child. Like, she went to everybody else except for the person she felt an issue with. And I said, honey, I'll tell you right now, that's not cute. That's not cute to do. That's not okay. The blessing is I'm your mother. Because if I was a chick on the street, I would have found out. I would have grabbed you by your little ponytail. I would have took you, I would whammy on you a little bit. Okay? So, but that's the higher perspective that I understood. And in those moments of how projection can lead into a very toxic and epidemic way, and it can become contagious. Because what if I wasn't who I was? What if I didn't stop it in the beginning? pause myself, because what if I leaned into my anger? What if I leaned into my past trauma? What if I leaned into my past experiences with my mother? And what if I ignored my motherly instincts and just wanted to self-soothe myself, like, oh no, this little girl thing, da, 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 da. What if, like, even before then, I'm learning about how I'm being talked about behind my back, made to be looked at differently, and I allow my ego to take over. Oh, y'all want to talk about me, and I go back and fight that and come back. You know how much of a wildfire that would have created? Crazy. So even though I have all of these um wounds, because they're still open, regarding my parenting, and towards my children, because I'm a single mom. I can't be everything and go everywhere at once. Not a superwoman. I am a human. I am a feminine. I am meant to rest, to nurture, while I'm working so hard. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I explained to them. Like, y'all are making me work way too hard when things are supposed to be in order. This is why we need a male in the household. He ain't gotta be a husband. I don't care what you call him, but a positive male role model who is in their healthy masculine state. You know what I mean? So we can create structure and order, because children do need structure and order. However, I have to be both, but there's really hardly enough time for me to be me, which is that empress, which is resting in my divine feminine, um, in all is in conclusion, I am running around here like a mass murderer, something on here, masked man, like, stop that, do this, you should have done that, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want to have to be like all stern and disciplined with my children. I just want to, like, oh, let's all sit in a circle and read a book. But by the time I be tired, y'all, I'll be tired. I'll be burnt out. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, so, but even still in those moments, I still reminded myself to give myself grace. It's really hard in those moments because, yeah, it takes out a lot. Like, and our shadows or the triggers, they are definitely like mirrors. Like, they may not, like, always show us something new. They typically just reflect to us what's already inside, right? Um, but the trick is on, like, deciding whether or not you want to keep staring at the cracks or start seeing the strength that's holding us together, right? Like, for instance, like, I realized I was able to alchemize that pain, those negative thinkings and everything that I was feeling in those moments. And I took those ashes and turned them into fertile soil. Like, I decided to give it to my child for her to grow from. You know what I mean? Like my pain became her clarity. Um and hopefully from her clarity now, it is not only like a stronger connection. Clarity won't be only a stronger connection with myself, but it'll between both her and I, right? Um so to whomever's watching this, like, I want you guys to know, like, your pain doesn't define you. Your battles, your challenges doesn't define you. Your shadows don't own you. They're literally just your teachers, your guides. Use it as a GPS map to go so you can go towards your destination. Um, they're here to remind you of your strength. Literally use them as, because I talk about relapse a lot. So even if you relapse, use them as your checkpoint markers, or what do you call them things? When you can't read the street corners, and you're like, oh, I know them buildings. What's a landmark? Landmark. You use them as a landmark because, like, you have the power to create your outcome, like, no matter what life throws at you, right? So hope this video helped, because it kind of helped me. Comment below for any personal readings or coaching sessions, or if you want to just like figure out, maybe you're curious on what exactly I could provide for you personally, I do offer free consultations. I do workshops, speaking events. I'm pretty open, versatile, but talk to you later. Peace.